regular monthly meeting of the Landmarks and Historic Preservation to order at 7:09. Roll call. Sarah?
Oh, I am here.
You're here. Sherilyn?
Human.
Dara?
Yep, human.
And myself. That makes a quorum. Don Matheson is here as liaison. So, first order of business, I guess, is approval of minutes from December. We have a draft in our packet. Does anybody have any objections?
Was Helen here in December?
Good catch. I don't believe so.
She already said so.
Yeah, she was.
But Dara,
I was here.
you were here
Yeah.
December. At least December or January?
This says December 9,
Did we,
and this says January.
Where?
so,
Where does it say January?
No, on the next set of minutes, on this one, it says January.
Oh, okay. So those, yeah, we have to approve those minutes also. We didn't have December's available to us during our January meeting. So we have to approve both minutes this month.
Would you like to amend the minutes before they are approved, Commissioner Evans?
yes. I think we should, remove Helen from the list, because she was not in attendance.
Very good.
Add it to me as absent.
Yes, yeah. So both Helen and Dara were absent in December. Says so.
Well, that's odd. So it says, Dara, are you sure you?
I was not here in December.
Are you-
I was here in January.
Because then we won't have a quorum for that month. Am I right about that? So I see
That's-
Bob,
Yeah, you got three
I see
people
Sarah, and myself.
So maybe was Helen here?
No, I think we just did, we didn't
I
have.
don't think you had a meeting. Yeah, I don't think you had a, there was no business.
Yeah.
So is the date wrong for these?
So in January, we talked about the next session.
Right.
Right.
In December, I think it was, I don't think we had a vote.
I don't think you had a quorum. So basically, does that mean that the minutes should not be called
A meeting. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So the meeting can't have been adjourned because it was never called to order.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if Bob had the wrong date.
That's, yeah, what I'm wondering about as well.
Let me look.
If the reference is talking about the bank sign, that would be January.
No, it's dues.
It's not January's meeting.
And in fact, there were no votes, no nothing, it's
Yeah.
just open discussion.
Yeah.
Discussion, there was no action taken,
Yeah, so it wasn't
so it's notes of a
Yeah.
conversation.
notes of your conversation.
So we need to, fix these because the way they're written says the meeting was called to order, we approved the.
Yeah, meeting was adjourned at 8 o'clock.
Yeah,
It can still be a meeting, it's just no action taken.
so the part where it says the draft minutes were approved,
That cannot,
yeah.
so that approval is not valid.
So then we're gonna need to approve some October 2024 minutes.
That'll have to be represented.
Okay.
This is how important the secretary is. Or what do we call a secretary nowadays? I'm sorry.
Administrative assistant?
Administrative assistant? No, for meetings, honestly, that's,
Yes, because Carrie did.
It's still a secretary.
Is
The
it?
Secretary of State, Mr. Pete
I don't
Henson.
know, all right.
Oh, Mr. Benson.
Yeah, if Helen was not here, it was not a valid meeting.
No, she wasn't.
And she wasn't.
Unfortunately, Bob is the person to ask about this because it might very well be, November? I don't think we had a meeting in November either. move on from that. We have January's meeting minutes to approve. I think, shall we table this December meeting?
Until it's corrected.
Any corrections or anything until we figure out?
I mean, does it need approval if it's just record of
It
the
doesn't,
meetings?
no.
I don't think it does, so I think, can't we just say that we reviewed unofficial meeting notes?
You're still gonna have to address, the notes made about October. Cause that can't happen.
Yeah.
Can we table that? Let's have a motion to table that.
Move to table the review and correction of the December 9 minutes until Bob Brzezowski is in attendance.
Excellent.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. That brings us to January 13th minutes. Any objections?
Sharon, are you LACC?
No, LACY. They got it.
Right.
You got me.
I see none.
Move to approve.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Excellent. All right, minutes approved. I have no correspondence. Petitioners. Okay, that brings us to our public hearing. I believe the first one I have is 51 to 57 Chestnut Street. Is that the first one on top of your packet also?
Yep.
All right.
Which is my dentist's office.
It is.
I believe this is a non-conforming structure.
So, yes, Bill, you're correct. This is considered it's a non-contributing resource to the historic district, which means that it was built outside the period of significance for our downtown historic district, so it does not materially contribute to the historical story of Oakdale. If we feel that it is singularly important.
The building.
Yeah, I personally, because it is non-contributing to our downtown historic district, it is not a rare type of building, there's nothing singular about it, and I think that the sign that they proposed, as far as I understand, does meet the zoning code and sign requirements. I have no issue approving the sign as is.
I agree with you.
Ditto.
Is there a motion to approve?
I make that motion to approve the sign as submitted. Second.
Seconded by Sherilyn.
Oh, wait, we don't have to do
Just-
seeker.
To who?
You have to do seekers, so, yeah, sorry.
We have to do
Pause.
Well, this is the discussion point, so we have a motion with, and it's at the discussion
So-
point now.
So,
Hang on, before you do that, did you have to do seeker first? Can you withdraw your motion?
Yeah, I take it back. Thank you.
Okay.
okay, so, because you guys are a board that makes discretionary determinations, you are required under New York State law to do seeker first.
What's a seeker?
State Environmental Quality Review Act.
I thought that was done under zoning.
It is, but you guys also are making a discretionary determination. So as a board, you also have to determine within your realm of authority that this does not have a negative environmental impact. So what makes this easy is, you guys are the board, so typically it would make sense for the reviewing body to be the lead agency. So when you do seeker, step one is you have to declare yourself the individuals engaging in seeker. So you're gonna, as a board, you would make a motion that you're declaring yourself the lead agency. No one else is going to challenge you on that, because the council doesn't review historic applications, the zoning board doesn't, the planning commission doesn't. You guys are the sole reviewers of this. After you make a determination that that you're the agency that will review this under seeker, you would have to make a determination whether this negatively impacts the environment. Conveniently, there's a list of things called type 2 actions under seeker. Type 2 actions have been categorically found not to impact the environment. Typically, in you guys' case, your type 2 action is gonna be maintenance or repair involving no substantial change in existing structure. So, for example, like, community bank, they're like, we wanna replace some signs. We're replacing an existing sign with another sign. Maintenance or repair. You're changing out a sign, you're taking one sign down, you're putting a new sign up. Another item that could make this fall under type 2 action, replacement, rehabilitation, reconstruction of a structure, facility, and kind on the same site. Again, you're taking one sign down, you're putting a new sign up, you're retrofitting something, you're doing a repair. And the third one is retrofitting existing structure to incorporate green infrastructure. So basically, you have 3 type 2 actions that, like, you could qualify most of the things you're gonna review under, because most of the things you're gonna be reviewing are repair, maintenance, or replacement in kind. So, before you can make a determination, you have to declare yourself the lead agency under seeker.
Is that for each application?
Yes.
So I guess my question is, can we do it as a suite of motions, or does it have to be each individual motion?
Each motion,
Okay.
you'll have to go, we're declaring ourselves the lead agency under seeker, and then you'll have to say, this is a type 2 action under seeker, because it is maintenance or repair, or it's a replacement of an existing structure right now.
I move to declare that we are the lead agency under seeker for this proposal from Jamil Ashrafuzzaman.
You could even say, in regard to the application of 51 through 57 Chestnut Street.
That, I move in that.
I second that motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do you have everything
I
in
got
there?
This is-
Good.
I
This,
make a
this might be a
motion
discussion point later in another month or so
that,
to figure this out. 'Cause
You're
this
gonna
is
have
all
an
new to me.
application next
I
month.
can't even tell you what
Get-
seeker stands
Well,
for.
we'll sit down, I'll send you the whole thing about it. It's way less crazy than me.
It sounds, that's.
so I am going to make a motion that we acknowledge this as a type 2 action under seeker, because it will have no adverse environmental impact, because it is a routine kind of, maintenance or repair to the building, to an existing building.
This does seem very routine maintenance repair, yes.
Yes. Yeah.
And this is for 5157.
51,
51,
57
57
Chestnut Street.
Chestnut.
Yes.
And normally on the memo, I would include that section.
Well, it is here, type 2
Sure, it's
actions
the
under
right one.
seeker.
Oh,
Cause you went sub 9 on the memo,
what's sub 9?
for construction or expansion of a primary accessory,
You can do that too.
for radio communication or microwave transmission facility?
No, it should be commercial.
But not for,
Oh, but not for.
yeah,
Yeah,
so this is still.
it could be 9 too.
You want
I mean,
9?
it doesn't really, it's not that critical. It falls under a couple categories.
Doesn't matter.
Okay, so there's a motion on the table, right?
I seconded it.
Seconded. Any discussion? Done? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
So now we're done with seeker, right?
And now we can make a motion to, I make a
I
motion.
wanna just understand, so the existing building has a sign that's perpendicular to the face of the building, hanging over the front door.
A blade sign,
Yeah,
yes.
Right.
and what is he replacing that one?
He's installing his own sign.
Which is gonna go right above the windows to the left of the front door.
Right.
Yes.
Yep, as you're facing the building.
Yep.
And it's gonna look like this.
Right,
It's 2 by 10.
Yes.
okay?
So it meets zoning code. It's a non-contributing structure.
Yeah.
But it's in the district.
I will now make the motion that we approve the application for 5157 Chestnut Street as submitted.
I second that motion.
Okay. Any discussion, other than the discussion we're in?
Should we capture the discussion that because it is a non-contributing resource to the historic district and it already meets the zoning code, you have no concerns
You
or?
just find no adverse impact.
Yeah. Okay, that's all the discussion I have.
Okay, so
All in favor?
motion stands as stated. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. So that brings us to, I believe the next one is going to be 183 Main. Is that what you guys have?
Yep.
Okay.
Can I just ask the question, I thought we were supposed to be getting these ahead of time?
Let's ask that question
Later?
after.
Okay.
So I think we need a seeker for this too, then,
Yep.
correct?
I move
I love that.
that the
yes.
commission will be the lead agency on the seeker review.
I will second that.
All right, motion on the table, seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
I make a motion that we declare this a type 2 action under seeker as replacement, rehabilitation, or reconstruction of a structure in kind.
Seconded by,
I'll second that.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Unanimous. And so now we're on to the actual certificate of appropriateness.
Are you here from the Greater Onion Historical Society?
Certainly am.
What's-
Could you,
What's your name?
Marcella Mafucci, I'm the executive director.
Okay, nice to meet you. My name's Bill.
hi Marcella, I'm
Hello.
Sherilyn. Could you just provide context?
Yeah,
It
sure.
describes what we're doing, but, how will replacing the windows benefit the building and the operations therein?
Yeah, absolutely. So GOHS is about to undergo a renovation of our third floor, which is an unrenovated historic ballroom. It's been inactive since the 1950s. It was built in 1865. So the windows are the original windows currently. As you can imagine, they are not in the best shape. Many of them are broken or cracked. The framing from the wood and for many of them is rotted out. They're not salvageable as much as we would like them to be, especially because we're hoping to open this space to make a multi-use cultural space in which we'll have GOHS events, programs, fundraisers, also use this as a rentable venue space for the local community and a gathering place. With all those things comes the need for climate control, safety and being eco-friendly for our infrastructure. We do plan on keeping the original balances and framing from the wood in the interior of the windows, so that historic integrity of the interior will remain. And we'll just be replacing them with Anderson A-series double hung windows. So very similar to the windows that you can see across the street at 189 Main Street.
The picture is really, I can't see anything from it. I'd love to know what this window looked like that you're replacing.
Oh, well, it's just a basic double hung window.
I know, but does it have the muntin in it with the existing windows
No,
too?
it's not. It's
No.
1/1, duh.
They're one
So
over one.
that's,
So my,
So let's pause, so that we just don't have a fire off of
Right.
questions.
okay.
Let's try to raise our hands and do this cordially. But just that said, so, go ahead.
so my question, you say in the application they're stationary windows, what's stationary?
So stationary means that they won't open and close. That's actually not going to be the case.
Oh.
We thought that if we had done stationary windows, they would be more affordable because we don't need them to open and close because everything will be climate controlled. In reality, the double hung opening and closing are the same price or less. So it just doesn't make sense to do stationary windows, but it's the same series and the same design of window. It's just kind of when they're open and closes. For us, that will be obviously beneficial because we'll be able to move them to clean the exteriors.
And so I'm familiar with Anderson 400 100, I don't remember the A. Are those the vinyl or the wood series?
I believe they're the wood series, and they'll come in, unfinished, and we'll paint the interior and the exterior. Yeah, and the exterior black we chose just so that it would match the Ford block that just recently painted their windows across the street, just for uniformity, with the neighborhood, just so that it looks similar. And sharp, I think it looks nice.
Yeah, that dark is.
Yeah.
it
Does
looks
look nice.
Especially against the brick.
I have some questions if, you mentioned that, they are not salvageable. Who made that determination?
The windows, I mean, that's in conversations with our contractors, it's just really difficult, I mean, some of them don't even close all the way, I mean, they're 150-year-old windows.
Yeah.
They, some of them are broken.
Who is, it may say in here, I
Our
apologize,
contractors are DL Baker, building contractors, Dan Baker.
Dan Baker. And you mentioned, just quick, this is kind of a question maybe for Steve. Ford Block did not replace their windows, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so they're the original windows. You also mentioned,
Well, some of them they did, some of them they did not. So it's a mix.
okay,
They did some replacement windows where they had to, but
Right.
many of them are not replacements.
and what was, when they did replace those, are they Main Street facing windows?
I don't think so. I think most of the ones that were replaced were on the rear of the building.
Right.
We only have 3 Main Street facing windows, everything else is on D Street.
Understood, yep. And,
But it's still
You-
a prominent side.
you also stated, energy efficiency. What, information do you have with regards to the savings and the climate?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Energy saving for us is really just in regards to the fact that half of our windows don't close right now, so we're just letting heat in and out. We're letting heat out in the winter, we're letting cool heat in the summer.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just not feasible. Not to mention, we also anticipate having permanent display collection, items from our collections on display, on the 3rd floor, so all of them will need to be, in order to display collections, everything needs to be climate controlled. We can't really risk having open air in any situation. We also can't, if our windows don't close, that's a huge problem for us, on multiple levels. So energy saving for us, because we're also going to be installing furnace and ductwork on the 3rd floor, we're gonna have climate control, AC, and furnace work, so we'll have heat and AC upstairs.
And was there any, analysis or study done regarding that?
There wasn't, I mean, when we initially, so the
So
third
I guess
floor-
what I'm getting at is who told you that it's not going to be energy, smart to do the old window, to restore the old windows, and it'd be
Well,
better to purchase new windows?
The old windows are single pane glass, half them are cracked, broken, they don't open and
Not-
close.
I'm familiar, yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's, for me, that's just,
Okay.
the most logical explanation would be to replace the windows versus try to restore them. We'd also have to reframe all of the windows to restore them, and we'd have to replace the glass. So even if we try to restore the windows versus replace them, we would be investing just as much with, they still won't be historical in nature because we will have to reframe them and we'll have to replace the glass so that they open and close.
Go ahead.
So if you were willing to go with stationary windows to begin with, why do they need to open and close? I mean, if we could restore these in place.
They don't need to open, but they need to close.
Right.
And they
But
don't close right now.
A good window restoration carpenter could fix that.
Yeah,
And it looks
absolutely.
like a lot of the glass is still actually in perfectly good shape. I mean, single pane.
Some of
right?
it is, some of it
Yeah.
isn't. Also, demo work that we're doing on the 3rd floor is also gonna come with taking away some of that original wood framing, just to be able to pull out what's the demo of what's the old lath and plaster that's coming out on the 3rd floor. I mean, that's gonna cause probably additional damage, I would assume. We're not going going to replace certain panes of glass and not replace others, that's going to look terrible. And it's not going to be economically feasible or aesthetically pleasing.
Well, you know the difference between old glass and new glass. You know, 150-year-old glass is wavy. It radically changes the appearance of a historic building to put in new windows. Because
Yeah.
they're absolutely flat and they're just very different. And given that you are the Historical Society, I think it's important to at least go through some of these questions.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. I'll say that the windows that we mimic after are all the replacement windows that they have across the street on 189 Main, which is also a historic building, also directly across the street, and also are going to look very similar to that. So they're not going to look uniform with the historic makeup of that block, and they're going to look just like the windows at 189.
And it looks like perhaps have the windows on the second floor been replaced previously because they don't have the same mutton pattern.
Yes, they were replaced in 2016.
Okay. So you'll basically be trying to match those.
Yes,
that are on
and
the second
those
floor.
and those are stationary windows, because that's where we house our collection, so those windows do not open and close. They have storms covering them,
So they're still single glazed with storms.
with storms. But all the glass on all those windows was replaced in 2016.
Go ahead.
So I think that it's really special that the majority of your windows in this building are original. And I think that it's really character defining for this building and for downtown to have those divided light windows there. So I think for me, one of the things that I immediately kind of like bristle at with this application is that you are going from 2/2 divided light windows to 1/1 double hung sash windows. So glass, wavy glass, you know, aside, I think that the lack of the divided lights is going to be very noticeable. I do also think that it would be great if you explored a restoration option, because there are so many options now that haven't been available in the past, and we have some great contractors locally who do that.
We have explored restoration. It's completely outside of our budget. I mean, we're a nonprofit.
Right, so I guess, the alternative, if restoration is completely out of the question, is a divided light Anderson within your budget, because I think that that is visually a defining characteristic of this building.
Yeah, I think we could definitely look into pricing options and price that out for sure. I will say Chabot has already approved our window replacement. They're the State Historic Preservation Office, and they've already approved it. So I understand, I mean, I understand, I'm just saying, like, you know, we have done our due diligence, we
Oh,
have
yeah.
looked into other options, we have looked into restoration, we are GOHS,
Do you have a
we are
quote for
trying.
restoration? Cause I'd love to, I would just love to kind of get my mind wrapped around like the difference in cost between restoring the windows versus doing like the higher grade Anderson.
Yeah, the price difference is almost $8,000 more to restore.
So, also, one other thing I would say is, given that you are a nonprofit and, you know, everybody's strapped for cash, the life expectancy of these windows that you're purchasing or want to purchase is nowhere near the life expectancy of the windows that are there.
Well, the windows that are there don't have a life expectancy right now because we can't use them.
They are not good because they're old because they're good.
Well, and I would say the issues are because they haven't been maintained, not because they're bad.
Right, I mean,
That's
the
very
third
true.
floor has been inactive since the 1950s. That's the
Yeah.
last time that the third floor was active at the History Center.
I can tell you that your energy efficiency concerns, you will never, ever, ever come close to seeing any cost savings. And then also, when it comes to heat release, it doesn't go out the windows. It goes out the ceiling and the roof. So energy efficiency is not as important as a lot of the contractors and salespeople want you to believe.
We're not seeking energy efficiency as much as we're seeking climate control.
Understood. Understood, yeah.
Being able to climate control the third floor is going to be invaluable to us as we are planning
Absolutely.
to display collections from our,
I,
items from
I
our collection.
fully understand that. I guess my statement to that would be, they have 200-year-old windows at the Fenimore Museum, and they are all climate controlled.
Yes, but those windows have also been maintained for the last 85 years and ours have
Absolutely.
not. So, I mean, I can't control what has happened prior to me being the executive director at UHS. I can't control it having been inactive
Understood.
for over
I-
80 years.
I fully
What I
understand
can
that.
control is hoping to be able to utilize that space for the local community going forward, and we can't currently do that with the windows that
But
we have.
with energy efficiency is almost as equal with storm windows, good storm windows, as it is new windows.
Yeah,
And there are good interior storms
And there are excellent interior storms,
that are basically invisible, but
and
will
will give
provide
you
you.
probably better energy efficiency than a new window. I promise you.
And climate control.
And,
Just
and
to-
climate control, correct, that's one, yeah, I'm kind of referring to it.
so are you suggesting that we put storms in our windows and leave the original windows?
And I think you'd have to do some maintenance on the original windows. I mean, you obviously need to scrape them, paint them, and use epoxy filler where they're rotted and that kind of thing. But if you don't really want to open them, interior storms would be a great solution, and is actually what is recommended in the Secretary of Interior Standards.
Yeah, I mean, we have interior storms on our second floor, so that's not something that we're completely opposed to doing.
If you want them to open, there are excellent
We don't
interiors.
need them to open.
I'm just saying, if you do, I mean, the interior storms can open, and it's not your typical triple track anymore. They're beautiful. I will be happy to give you references to the American, window world, if you will, on this information. It's important. I mean, I'm looking at this picture. You make a great point, Sarah. Like the from one end of the building to the other, I mean, it's all the same. It's beautiful, and not only on Deet Street but also Main Street.
And Deet Street is a very important facade.
Right.
And
It is.
It's a minority of windows that have been changed already. So you have a majority of your original windows, which is really special, especially I think in our community.
I understand, and a lot of contractors want to replace these windows because it's easier. And I'm not saying your contractor is doing this, but I'm just saying, generally speaking, it is easier to smash out that window and put a new one in.
Yeah, of course.
A lot of contractors tend to do that for that reason. And in actuality, it's costing the owner more in the long run to do that than it is to restore those windows.
So if we didn't replace the windows and we just put up storms, we're still gonna have to replace the framing and the windows. So we'll have to replace the framing and the windows and install storms.
I need a clarification what you mean by framing.
The wood framing of the original windows is rotted out in at least 8 of the 11. So we will have to replace that
Rotted out
wood framing
completely?
on the interior and the exterior.
So that's possible. I haven't seen the windows. However, I mean, if there's enough material left, they can be repaired. There's a material called Avatron, which is like
Epoxy
an
resin.
epoxy resin filler essentially, which reconstitutes missing wood. And it's a miracle. I wish we had it
Yeah.
10 years ago. So that could perhaps save you from having to recreate or rebuild these windows, which could be a labor savings. Yeah. I guess, I mean, for me, I cannot approve this application. What I would like to see, and I don't know if we can ask for that, would be a proposal that has kind of different grades of restoration work. Like, what would it be to restore the windows? What would it be to restore the windows, replacing materials in kind as needed?
And the budget, and you wanna include a budget for interior storms, cause I hear you on
Yeah.
climate
Yeah.
control. Because restoration will make them function better, but it won't necessarily make them airtight.
Mhm.
Whereas an interior storm could help to make it so you have no drafts and aren't losing heat to infiltration.
Okay, well, we won't be doing them until the spring anyway, so we have some time to do that. I will run it by my contractors, and I'm sure they'll be at the next meeting.
Yeah, and if you, we cannot give recommendations for specific contractors.
Oh, that's fine, I don't
But-
need any recommendations.
Well, so I'm just saying that there are a lot of really great window restoration companies locally.
Yes, we've spoke to some of them.
Okay, there are some that are more expensive than others. So just kind of bear that in mind. And
So,
then,
just out of curiosity, who approved the windows at 189?
so that was before we were a certified local government.
But they still met code and,
So we aren't concerned with code, we're concerned with the built environment, the historic built environment. And the SHPO defers to local CLG communities when it comes to, design guidelines. So the SHPO has, very little, actual oversight, and operates in a kind of, they provide suggestions, whereas we are legally empowered by local ordinance to make binding legal decisions about design.
It's also my understanding that those are the original, or at least most of them are the original.
189 Main is the Omiana Hotel building.
Yes.
What,
Yeah.
When were those windows replaced?
you're
Before we were
referencing 189 Main, the Oneana Hotel?
well, I was asking who approved those windows, because those are the exact same windows that we want to install, and they're already on Main Street, and they're right across the
Oh,
street.
yeah,
That was long before
I
this
wouldn't
commission existed.
approve those either.
Yeah, no, yeah. And that does highlight why preserving these windows is important, because we've lost a lot of that fabric already. That is important, and is character defining.
And this is an important building in
It is.
the landscape of Main Street with.
It is an important building, it will be even more important when we can use our third floor.
Yeah, and I think what's important is that we all kind of get on board, because we want you to use that third floor. At the same time, we want to make sure that we are stewarding our built resources as best we can.
Okay.
And I think it's something you can sell actually as part of your mission as the Greater Oneana Historical Society, that, this is absolutely central to your mission of preserving the history of Oneana.
Oh yeah, we've been fundraising for this project for 10 years now.
Yeah.
It's not like, I mean,
Right.
yes,
No, I mean,
absolutely.
I did a lot of architecture where we did green buildings, completely sustainable LEED Platinum buildings, and they were for nonprofits that were actually doing that. They were Parks and People, where they were doing, and it was very important to their mission that they do a building that they walk the talk that they were
Yeah,
raising
absolutely.
money for, so.
So, do we want to approve, disapprove, or approve with modifications,
Or you could table.
or table?
I would suggest we table till we get more time for you to come back with,
Yeah, that's fine. We'll be back next month.
does that sound right to you guys?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out if that's the,
Or do we
If
just
we
wanna
want,
disapprove?
if we want more information here, would tabling do it, or?
so, I don't know what other information I could be provided that would make me approve this. So that's why I'm inclined to disapprove it and ask for a revised application. But I don't know if that's the best legislative process.
I sort of was thinking that's what tabling was, but I
Yeah.
agree, I agree.
Tabling is like we're withholding,
Tabling
A
wouldn't
decision.
change this at all.
right.
Okay, so then I think you're right, we should go and disapprove and have a revised application.
Okay.
So, is that a motion?
Yeah.
Well, So the only reason that I would bring up tabling is a new application is gonna require a new public notice, probably.
Oh, okay.
another 2 weeks.
Gotcha.
That's not
So-
necessary.
motion to table it.
I will second the motion to table
Okay.
with a request for additional information.
When's the meeting next month?
It
Let's
is
meet next month.
the 10th.
Don't pressure me.
Yeah,
Be March 10th.
I have the 10th too.
All right, we'll see you on the 10th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, if,
Oh,
if you want any information, on, you know, maybe what you wanna bring next month, reach out.
You have to vote.
I'm gonna bring my contractors next month, so
Okay.
they'll be able to
Very good.
answer
I mean,
more.
one suggestion I was gonna say is, would it make any sense for us to
We
go
will,
and take a look?
we
at
will.
them?
It's a discussion period.
I mean, sometimes that can help, I mean, you know, if we can actually see the decay
yeah.
and realize that actually there's, it's, you know, I mean, it's hard to tell from a picture.
Oh, yeah, I can send you some pictures. I submitted
Well, could we come
a
and
whole
see you on the
docket to
third
Chicago,
floor?
that's why they approved our windows. So yes, I'll put that together and I'll submit it with you.
Great, thank
Yep.
you.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Marcy,
Don't forget
Marcy,
your
your
hat.
Oh,
Oh, thank you.
cool. So now we have to vote.
Thank you, thank you.
Yes. Any more discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Dara? Unanimous. That was 183 Main, correct?
Right.
That.
Oh, the next one's.
Now we are on to 243, 253, 55.
I would make a motion that we as a commission declare ourselves lead agency for seeker on this.
Ding, ding, ding.
Oh, I second that motion.
Just, can we write that down so we stamp
I
it?
know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, just if you get sued, that's an easy way to.
Oh, thanks.
That's an easy way to lose.
I would.
Not it.
We have to vote on the first motion.
Oh,
Yes,
sorry.
Second by somebody?
I second it.
Jill ended.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
I move that we declare this a type 2 action under seeker that requires no additional review because it's really maintenance or repair involving no substantial changes in an existing structure or facility.
I will second that.
Excellent. All in favor?
Aye.
Now, the application.
I didn't get a chance to review this because I couldn't get it to come up except on my phone. And the only thing I was concerned about was that there was something about columns, fiberglass columns.
So they identified that those columns that I've been concerned about, that Bill and I
In
thought were
front.
iron, are fiberglass.
In the old historic building?
Been replaced,
Yeah,
obviously.
they were replaced at some point, the ones by like the planters,
Oh,
yeah.
under where it says carved in stone Wilbur National Bank.
No,
No.
by where they're removing the awnings.
Oh.
The small, like,
Oh,
Corinthian
those
style
guys.
columns.
No.
Oh, no, they're the flat ones, the pilasters, actually.
I found the order of this thing to be extraordinarily difficult to make
Page
sense of.
6 of 19,
Oh, these things here?
yeah, and those,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so they're Lego pieces.
Yeah.
Oh, these guys? Oh, no, over here,
Over there, yeah.
okay.
So, just so we're clear, to the right of the awning, I assume would still probably be cast iron.
Right,
Or,
Yeah.
I guess they're not specifically talking about those.
no. I
Yeah,
think-
They're talking about the
Okay.
columns.
But they're not doing anything to those columns, right?
they're painting them,
Oh,
but they're already painted.
And they're fiberglass.
Yeah. As far as I can tell, so the only material change to the application is removing the proposed sign that covered the Wilbur sign
Which is what we
thing,
asked for.
which is what we asked for, and they didn't even offer an alternative on the glass, which we provided, so I would make a motion that we accept the application, approve the application as is.
I second that
Okay.
motion.
Any more discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. So now we're gonna move on to new business. there any new business that we have? Okay, any old business? Go ahead.
Oh, no, I think it's under old business.
All right, and is there any old business?
Replacement, I mean, an additional commissioner, has there been any movement on that?
Last I heard was that the names that were presented were, none of them were city residents. So you're unfortunately, when you're
Back to the
back
drawing
on
board.
Back to the drawing board. So speaking of the drawing board, how about, are we allowed to post, say, at the preservation office in Cooperstown, or even maybe, I don't know, any, at the Fenimore Museum or any other museums or areas like Swart Wilcox House for candidates?
Sure.
And we could we put it also on our webpage, our regular webpage?
I don't see why
Webpage?
not.
Yeah, make like a little announcement.
Facebook page?
I don't see why not. I was
Make
just
an
kinda
announcement,
thinking,
exactly.
Maybe Facebook, make it a general one, because we have a couple of boards and commissions that are looking for members.
No, we don't have to do that.
Just landmarks.
Yes.
Are you a city resident? Are
Yeah.
you interested
Are you interested
in
in serving?
parks?
pie?
Historic preservation, fill in the blank.
I'd like to make that suggestion, you know, obviously we can handle the Facebook page and the website, or you can, I should say. How about anywhere, a physical posting, anywhere? I mean, like,
I can
granted.
see the Swart Wilcox, I'm not sure of the value of it in Cooperstown.
Yeah, but I don't know, I figured there's, between Suco and Hartwick and you know, faculty and staff and so on and so forth, I feel like just because it's in Cooperstown doesn't mean a resident from Oneonta isn't going up there,
Well, sure.
or has some type of connection that, and we just don't know about.
Do people still post things in between Latte Lounge and Green Toad on that wall in there?
I don't even know if that space is open now, is it?
On that,
It's
like,
open, I
wall.
think.
Is
Isn't
it
that,
open
I mean,
now?
wasn't that the
Okay.
connection to the walkway you're talking about?
Yeah.
No, I'm talking, in between Green Toad and Latte Lounge, there's the doorway and
That's
people.
like door thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is open.
Yeah, so people used to always post flyers on that, in that doorway, and then, I guess the only other like community board place that I know of is, the Green Earth.
Doesn't Suco have, it has a secondary program in Cooperstown on historic,
That graduate.
the
Museum
graduate
Graduate
program.
program,
I
yeah.
wonder why we wouldn't maybe sort of talk to them, if somebody has a name for the director of that
Maybe
program.
it's just verbally, do it
Yeah.
verbally,
the
hey, do
director
you know
of the
anybody that
house,
might be a
hey.
resident?
Yeah,
Are
I can
any of
read.
them residents of Oneonta, and would they be interested in serving as a commissioner on the historic? Because they're at least already interested in historic stuff.
Are there any other criteria that people have to fulfill? Do we need someone with realtor or real estate
So
experience?
the
Theoretically,
way,
we
the way
do.
it's written is that the mayor can approve, basically, there's an ideal scenario of who you want on the board, but it's within the discretion of.
And the language is as much as possible, or something like
Yeah.
that,
So you
to the
have
extent
wiggle room.
possible.
You have
Yes.
wiggle room,
Yeah.
okay.
Do you, so I, know some folks who work with and for CGP, do you want me to reach out to them and see, or unless anyone else has a close working relationship?
Is that the graduate program?
Yeah, the
Okay.
Cooperstown Graduate Program in Museum Studies. So the person I would reach out to is Katie Boardman, who Katie has been a lifelong museum professional and consultant. She lives in Cherry Valley, and she's currently teaching a lot of the public history courses at CGP. We could reach out to Gretchen Soren, who is the program chair and director, but because she's the director, she's so busy. I think probably reaching out to Katie would be more fruitful because she has a little bit more time.
You never know, it might be, you know, networking like that, opening up their networks, they may have
Yeah.
contacts that we just aren't thinking about.
Well, and honestly, even if they don't have anyone in mind for the commission, it would be great for their students to come to a commission meeting because this is a part of historic preservation and cultural heritage stewardship that they have no exposure to whatsoever.
This is where the boots hit the ground kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I'm happy to reach out if,
Okay, that would be
Sounds
great.
um, I also have some old business.
And, Carrie, you'll handle that, everything you need, all right. Go ahead, Sarah.
So I spoke with Ashley Barrett, from SHPO, and she processes, commercial tax credit applications for our area, and she is excited to do a commercial tax credit webinar.
Excellent.
We just have to set up a date. I asked for some time perhaps in the spring. So she said that she's flexible. Late April, she has a conference, and then May, has limited availability. So if we were thinking April would work, or maybe we could push it into the summer. Just kind of.
But it's gonna be like a webinar, right?
Yeah, it
So
would be ideally a webinar.
would we hold that in one place and other people could Zoom into it, or would it all be Zoom?
we'd have to figure that out.
Yeah.
I think the thing is, and what Ashley said is that, she doesn't see a ton from her territory overall, which includes, a chunk of the Southern Tier and Mohawk Valley. So she's really excited to kind of do anything that would help encourage folks to take advantage of that. So however we think we could get the most people to get that information.
It would be,
Yes.
at the end of the day, it'd still be a recorded webinar where we could post online.
I think that's the best case scenario,
Yeah.
because if you look at the homeowner tax credit webinar that we posted on YouTube, we've had a fair amount of views after the fact.
And we did flyers for that as well, didn't we?
We did.
So we could do flyers and just pass them out on Main Street
Yeah,
to all the businesses, because they're all
Yeah.
part of the Main Street.
yeah. So.
Do we know of any, business owners that would like to attend it? Don, any constituents that have reached out to you regarding anything?
They reach out to me about a lot of things, but not this.
Commercial historic preservation tax credits?
They may not even be aware of it, though, and
No,
it's a new thing, because we're now finally landmarked.
Do we wanna, is March too soon?
Was that available, did she have that time available?
I could ask her about
Right.
March for sure. I think I had said, I had said perhaps sometime in April to give her some time. But I can ask her about March.
Late March. I
Late
mean, the
March
only
or-
reason I bring that up is, the sooner we get it on the website, the better, right?
Yeah,
Like, even if nobody attends the webinar,
we have it.
it's, at least it's out there.
And we're doing our due diligence to be educatory.
Yeah,
Well, and the benefits for people of learning about a tax credit before April as opposed to, I don't know, April
that is
20, you know, for next year.
Yeah. So I will ask, Ashley about March.
okay.
And as long as we had at least a couple weeks to get the word out, we have 2 weeks until the end of the month, so, yeah. I will ask her about that
Towards the
tomorrow.
end of March, and, if you wanna handle dates, sending out dates to us or whatever, or just come up with a date, and if we can make it, we can make it, however you wanna handle it.
Do you folks have thoughts about a weeknight, weekend, like midday? Like, when do we think our business owners would be most available? Or do we think that this is something that they would just kind of watch after the fact?
Don, what do you think? Do you
Well,
think an
the
evening,
only
like
time I've
5:30
heard a
or
discussion
6?
about this, the mayor had a meeting at Foothills about a week ago, and the subject did come up. And I'm trying to remember the guy's name. He has Social Eats. What's
Oh, yeah.
Al Rubin.
Yeah, Al Rubin was interested in it. He was unaware of the program, and he said he was going to look into it.
Well, Alvin's a person who theoretically might have a project that would
That would be great.
benefit.
So he would probably be interested in hearing about a webinar.
Okay.
That's
good to
great to know.
Which we can
Yeah.
easily tell about, because
Okay.
I've talked to Al frequently.
And maybe he's even more hot to trot, maybe we could just give him the name of the woman who handles commercial tax credits at SHPO, so she can send him information if he's ready to start doing something.
Not yet.
No, okay.
Okay. As far as whether it's a weekday, weeknight time, I'm not sure a business owner,
Yeah, I don't know if there's a.
either they have time or they don't have time.
Yeah,
And so.
And they'll be interested if it's available when they can watch it.
When they can.
They've got an hour
I
on
feel
Sunday
like-
to do it or something.
so, just thinking, it seems like, a lot of businesses, tend to be closed like Monday and Tuesday evenings. So maybe a Monday or a Tuesday evening.
Maybe Monday would be better because Tuesdays for a lot of people in the community, like there are high school events that go on. And a lot of business people, including Al Rubin, have high school kids who compete, so.
Oh, gotcha.
Monday sounds like it's a dead day to some
Mondays are
extent.
kind of a dead day.
Yeah.
Okay, well then I will ask her for a Monday in the month of March.
Excellent.
That is not the 10th, because that's our commission meeting.
Okay. Any other old business? I don't think I have anything.
I
Steve?
had-
Were you gonna say something, Steve?
What were you gonna say?
I just had some open discussion.
Okay. Open discussion time.
I was just going to say, I know, I can't believe it's been so long since we kind of got back our Jesse Ravage's reconnaissance level survey. And so I just kind of wanted to keep it on our radar that not this year, but down the line, maybe next year, we would want to consider exploring funding opportunities to potentially create a new or expand some of our existing historic districts.
Yeah.
Yeah, just something to keep in mind.
When was that done? I have it right here somewhere, but there was a date on it.
2 or 3, Steve, do you remember when Jesse
I
finished?
should tell you, it's in the back, but that's in my binder, which I don't have.
It was, I think it was 22 or 23. So we've had it for a little bit. The only reason I'm thinking is just, it would take a while to find some funding to do like an intensive level survey and to kind of get funding for someone like Jesse to write a nomination.
May 8, 23.
May
23.
23,
But
yeah.
we could possibly do some buildings that are already in our, like the Armory or the Stella Luna building, I mean, the old
Yeah, that is
train
true.
station. You know, and there may be some others that I'm not, the mansions, I don't know, the local mansion, the
Things that
Fairchild
already
mansion. They already are, okay,
And they're already landmarks.
okay.
Yeah, but like, there are buildings that we did locally landmark that were eligible, that aren't currently listed, so, yeah, the Stella Luna's building, the old train station, for example.
And the Armory, right?
I believe the Armory as well.
The Armory's listed.
Oh, yeah.
Is it listed now as a local landmark?
Yeah.
Oh, so it's in our purview then?
Oh, yeah, I just was thinking it was nationally. not-
One building that was brought to our attention by Bob is the Center Street School.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you're saying, just so I'm on the same level, so there was a reconnaissance level survey done.
yes.
You're not saying redo that survey, you're saying do a focused?
Yep.
Would that be the right terminology?
And I think she may have even mentioned that in her survey, that there are some areas that she thought would be interesting to
Yeah.
pursue.
So she essentially kind of made recommendations,
Right.
for like broad boundaries and outlines of where new historic districts, existing historics that we don't currently have designated exist. And so the next step in this process, now that we have a reconnaissance level survey, which is the macro level survey, kind of getting the historical trends and architectural trends laid out, the next step is either an intensive level survey, where we would find funding to hire a consultant, or we could do it where you go street by street and document housing stock.
Well, there's grant funding available for that.
Or we find funding for that. Or if we felt really confident that there was a cohesive historic district, we could try to get grant funding for a consultant to write a nomination. More information is always better, but, I mean, it's something where we could, if we wanna do this, I think we would probably have to talk to someone like Jesse.
So an intensive survey, that would, kind of focus on detailed areas
Yeah,
that aren't already in a district?
yeah.
And would that also include individual properties, like that may not be in a whole district, but maybe individually somewhere else? Or is that still, that was the reconnaissance level?
Yeah, so this, essentially, the reconnaissance level survey, she looked at the whole city and identified different areas that might constitute a district. So this next step would be,
But a district, but how about individual?
I don't remember in her survey if she identified individuals.
I don't think so. So that's what I'm getting at, like, what, at what step of the process are individual properties identified?
So that, I mean, is kind of something that we would do, or the community would do. It's not necessarily, if it was something where, if Fairchild Mansion wasn't already listed, that would have popped up as a, hey, this should be listed. But I think that throughout the city, we don't have a ton of kind of standalone buildings that don't fit in a district. And so I think that's what.
Center Street School.
But does that fit into a kind of Center Street or Center City
District?
Historic
Okay,
District?
all right.
And that's what we would have to go back to Jesse's survey to look at and see what she says and what she argues and see if we buy it.
Uh-huh.
Or we could, as a commission, say we think the Center Street School
I see.
is important and try to move forward with an individual nomination. And I'm happy to talk about that, not as a commissioner, like chit chat outside, because I can't wear my SHPO hat and my
Yeah.
commission hat at the same time.
What amount of dollars are we talking about here? Is it like $3,000 or $30,000?
I don't know what Jesse's rates are, Steven. How much was the reconnaissance survey?
It was like $6,000 or something like that.
So I
Since
think-
we contributed a percentage of it, it's not.
I mean, it's not crazy.
I would suggest that what we need to do is either, separate from this meeting, actually get together as a commission and review Jesse Ravich's reconnaissance level report and identify areas that we think might be
Of
worth
promise.
trying to raise a lot of money to, or some money to, is River Street a possibility? I don't know, I have no idea, I know it's interesting in lots of ways, but I don't know if it's historically interesting, but maybe we get through looking at her thing and decide that there's maybe only 4 or 5 areas that we need to.
Yeah, and I know for me, I think when we got the survey, I used it as a tool to learn about Oneonta,
Right.
and I wasn't necessarily looking at it critically as okay, so what do I agree with, what do I not agree with, what do I think there's a future here for? And I think that we've had enough time and we've kind of had the ability to wrap our heads around what it is that we do and what the survey is, and maybe now we go back to it and look at her recommendations and see what we agree with and what we think is the future. So basically doing what you just suggested.
Would you all be able to share a copy of that with me?
Yes, and you
Okay.
just,
Oh, yes.
it's on the website.
It's on the website. Oh, okay.
But if you want a print copy,
I can do that.
And can you print it with color? Because that's pretty essential to the report. is our
so yeah,
report.
so maybe what we just say is, we will, on our own, take a look at this and come back maybe to our next meeting or in a couple
Bring back
meetings.
something that interests you in the Ravitch report.
Yeah.
We can talk.
Or do we wanna go as a commission, I forget how she has it designated, you like that coffee stain?
I like that.
It shows that you've been reading it.
Yes, it has a patina of history there, Bill.
I don't remember, let's see. She has, study area discussion, 6th Ward, East End, West End, College Hill,
She does the Center City one.
Central
Yeah.
Residential
Yes.
District. Expansion areas adjacent to existing and RHD.
National Register Historic District.
Okay. Do we want to, as a commission, say, okay, for next month's meeting, let's focus on the expansion areas adjacent to
Sure.
that chapter?
Yeah.
Come back as a commission, discuss it,
Okay, so it's,
check off those boxes, and then move on to the next district?
Yep.
Okay,
I love it.
so you got some homework.
excellent.
All right, that's just the first one in her list, so we'll go with expansion areas.
And that makes sense, because she's actually suggesting that maybe there's some value to expand, so, since she knows what she's talking about, that probably makes sense to her.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's 6 sections, and for the next 6 months, we'll have
Yeah.
homework, or more.
Okay. That's my discussion.
Okay.
I cut you off.
Yes, the only thing I wanted to bring up quickly is, I think I'm going to propose that we adjust the ordinance so that non-contributing structures that are aligned with the zoning code won't require. I'm concerned that we're gonna end up with a lot of non-contributing applications where people are like, I'm gonna put a sign up, and it's on a building that's not contributing.
So like the dentist's office?
Like the dentist's office. My thought is that we adjust or maybe add basically like a errata to the ordinance that would not require, if they meet the zoning code, would not require them to come in front of the board to present.
And the
a sign.
zoning code would preclude any major changes in size of building or shape of building. I mean, you could
Yeah,
also,
so-
you could also use the seeker, it has to be number 2 or something.
Yeah, so construction is different, I think,
Okay.
but I think like things like sign changes,
Yeah,
I think that's gonna become burdensome for us to review every time someone swaps, the sign at,
And it's kind of burdensome for them too.
Yeah.
They have to do an application and.
it turns into like, if Speedway wants to change the sign, well, they're technically in the historic district. If they
Right.
meet the zoning ordinance, what's the impact of Speedway switching the final sign?
I have no problem with that, I think that makes a lot of sense from both sides of this file. But I would be worried that maybe there'd be something that would come up that.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree, like to think that it makes sense and it's easy, unless there's like a unicorn in there. That's,
I have to excuse myself, you know, I have this family emergency that's going on, something's come up.
Okay.
Oh, good luck with it.
take good
Luck.
care,
Thank
Don.
That is all.
Yeah, so like,
So I think of other historic districts that I visited or whatever. And I feel sometimes I do come across non-contributing structures that have, and I don't know if this is a zoning problem or not, where they've been required, even though it was a non-conforming structure, they've been required to kind of do their best to conform.
So what you'll typically find, like, our zoning code restricts material and design pretty specifically. So like, a lot of the things in our zoning code are restrictive of, you know, like neon signs and, like, we already have a fairly robust, like, zoning ordinance. So I think, like, for example, like the dentist sign, our zoning code only allowed that after he modified the height of the sign, and the size of the sign, and so our zoning code already kind of like brought that sign into a certain realm.
Right.
I'm just wondering if we're gonna charge someone $100 to come to the commission, so that you guys can go,
Yeah, don't
non-contributing
be-
looks fine.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's gonna really, if that's meeting the goal of, so obviously when we have buildings like, you know, the Historical Society,
Right.
contributing structures that are doing, and I would even say signage on some of those buildings.
Yeah,
might be.
absolutely.
But again, I'm like, if we're looking at things like, you know, I keep using the Speedway because it's in the historic district. The Clarion Hotel, I think part of it is located. I mean, and I was also kind of thinking like, we might think about in-kind replacement of like asphalt shingles. Are we gonna make everyone that comes in get a review if they're gonna replace shingles with shingles.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what some communities have done is they've basically written into their ordinance,
Exemptions.
administrative exemptions, where the zoning or the code officer can basically essentially issue a building permit to reshingle a house without coming in front of the board. Only because as these boundaries might expand to other districts, we don't wanna have to review everyone who wants to
No,
remove their
no.
house.
Right.
That's a very valid point.
And we don't wanna have to review every single structure that's like, I'm removing my front door to replace it with the exact same front door.
Well, and I think too, it's kind of like an important, like gesture of goodwill to the, like, business community
Yeah.
with like the sign thing,
Yeah.
like.
Cause I think what might end up happening is every time someone switches a sign, you're gonna be triggering a review that's gonna cost
Yeah.
$100 and it's.
It doesn't make sense.
And it,
Really
it doesn't it doesn't help us either.
No, it, yeah.
Right.
And you'll be using, do you need, what documentation do you need to state?
Well, that's what I'm gonna probably look into tomorrow. Like, I've looked at other ordinances and I've seen how other communities have done kind of this mechanism. So like, I would draft up, basically like draft language that we could then talk about once it's actually written.
Yeah,
And we can kind of go through the process.
okay.
Cause I mean, we're all figuring this out kind of as we go.
Yeah, aren't we?
And part of that, I think, is like, we wanna make sure that we're not overburdening, every applicant who
Yeah.
wanders in. And is like, oh, I wanna put a sign up on my building that's not contributing. Oh, well, now you have to go to a board that tells you, cool, it's a non-contributing building, looks good, it meets the
Yeah.
zoning code.
Too much red tape.
Well, it does, it kind of creates a red tape that doesn't help us with what we're trying to do, or the messaging we're trying to send.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really do a lot for the historic district, because our zoning code already is fairly restrictive on signage and like exterior regulations anyway. So that was my.
I think that sounds like a great idea.
I think it is too, I agree.
Sweet.
Thank you.
I guess, but I'm not sure we wanna discuss it under open discussion or adjourn the meeting and then discuss it.
That sounds like a loaded question.
Well, it's just, I guess, I would like to talk about the quality of submittals to us for review.
Okay.
Is
No,
that
I mean, that's open
discussion?
discussion, I think that's
So,
fine.
for example, I find it kind of appalling that the Greater Oneonta Historical Society seems to think so little of the fact that they're replacing all the windows in the building, that they give us very little information about the windows that they're actually doing, other than this, this picture, which is not a picture. And didn't come to us with any, I mean, the Secretary of the Interior standards are very clear about this, and that is that you need to really show that the historic windows are completely not salvageable before you start replacing them. And it's because of the mutton patterns, it's because of the wavy glass, it's because of, it changes the real quality of the building when you replace old windows with new windows, and it's really obvious. And I think I think we need to let people, especially, I mean, it's the Historical Society, for Pete's sake. It's not like it's Joe's tattoo shop.
So the policy that I've typically taken on with people making applications, the easiest way to get someone in front of a board is to basically say, you provide us with an application. If your application is incomplete or leans towards the not usable side of things, you'll get to explain that to a board who can then deny or say, cool, we're gonna table your application until you put together a better application. The reason I do that is basically, I like to give people the ability to appear in front of the board so that there's no like room in the like, oh, well, the city doesn't want me to do a project, so they're
Right, they
preventing
made it
me
really
from doing
difficult for me to do it, got it.
Right, they're treating my application differently, they're over scrutinizing, so
Right.
my typical approach to this is if you wanna submit an application that's incomplete or bad, if you pay the fee and you put your name on the paper,
Have at it.
have at it, you can explain to the board. And typically what that will do is extend whatever you're trying to do
Right,
Even longer.
yeah.
even longer.
Mhm.
Because we provide an application that pretty clearly states what you should bring as part of your submittal.
And obviously there was some,
I mean, I just think she obviously doesn't think this is really worthwhile, and she's gonna come
Right.
back next week with her DL
So-
Baker contractor who's gonna say, oh, no, I can't possibly repair these windows, the only way to do
So,
this, you know.
so I would just say that we request additional information.
And I actually would like to see, you know, budgets from different
Yeah.
restoration
And
people.
those are all things that you can ask for at
Right.
the meeting
Well,
with
we
the applicant.
did ask for that.
Okay, yep.
I mean,
So that's what'll happen.
was that, I don't think we'll get it next month.
Okay,
No,
well,
I-
that's-
I think
that's
she just
not-
plans to come back with the contractors
too.
and
Okay.
Okay,
Well, let him be the big bully, yeah.
right,
Okay.
okay.
Can we get these applicants, I did not see, forgive me, did these applications get sent out to us?
So I mentioned, this is not meant to sound mean, and it is, or I'm overthinking it. Cause I do that.
Or it's mean, it's
a
fine.
lot. It could be either. I mentioned last month they all go online, and that's where they all are.
Okay.
So on your landmarks page, there is an individual page for each application.
So we need to be proactive in checking.
They're all there as I
But how
get
do I
them.
even know there's been a filing? Am I supposed to just check every day to see if there's been a filing?
No, so I mentioned that you had applications, so that was your, hey, you have applications, you need to look.
When did that, was that in the message about
That was in
meeting?
January when we spoke, yeah, that one
Okay.
wasn't in person, so I
Okay.
did not send an email because I had
Okay.
already said there was one, so that one,
Oh,
I
okay,
own
okay,
that
so
one.
that should
Okay.
trigger me to go look at the
Yeah.
webpage, okay.
Cause
all
I
right.
had said, hey, I re-uploaded that application, so there were, the other two were there. As a heads up, you're going to have one in March as well, so you're
Okay.
going to have 183 coming back. Ford on Main is coming, they're gonna wanna sign, so you'll have
And is that, okay,
two for next one. That one is not online yet.
okay,
That
the
one-
Ford on Main.
Ford on Main is not online.
We just-
I hope we have, I worked that day too. Okay,
So
Well,
that
maybe
one,
Bob will be back then.
yeah,
so I will send an email, cause I'm screwing with your schedule and uploading and all that, so I will send an email when that one is up.
Okay,
And I think it'll be easier if I send an email moving forward, that it's up,
thank you.
so I can do that.
that's fine, I mean, like Steve said, we're all learning as we go.
Right.
We will figure this out.
Yeah, we're all learning as we go.
Yeah, we will get there.
It's new for all of us, so, is there any other open discussion? Can we move on to adjourn the meeting? I adjourn the meeting.
God.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Motion.